Leia Healthcare. It's good to live. Proud sponsor of the Real Health podcast with Carl Henry.
Folks, welcome to a very, very special edition of the Real Health podcast in association with Leia Healthcare with me, Carl Henry. We are live from the Leia Healthcare City Spectacular in Merrion Square. The sun is out, we've got massive crowds here, and we have an amazing, amazing guest. He's going to chat all things health to us. Johnny Sexton, welcome to the Real Health podcast.
Thanks for having me, yeah.
How's it going?
Good, all good.
So, you're just coming out of, I suppose, off-season into the pre-season training. Talk to us about how does downtime look for you? What do you do in your downtime when you're not training, when you have a couple of weeks off? How does that look?
This year we had 3 weeks holiday, and I suppose the short holiday was so we didn't get too out of shape. And when we came back, then we had 2 weeks really hard training, which we've just sort of completed, and then we had another week off, which is our 4th week holiday. And that 4th week, you're kind of, because you've started your training, you kind of don't want to lose too much, so you kind of keep training anyway. So kind of a sneaky way to give you holidays, the S&C staff, but it's been brilliant. Like, guys, the year that's in it with the World Cup, you're not going to want to get too far out of shape anyway and have to do all the hard work to get it back. So. And
do you train in the off season? So if you're on holidays with your family, do you train every day? Do you sit by the pool and read a book? Do you?
A bit of everything. First week off, we were told to do nothing, so we did absolutely nothing. We were allowed to eat what we want, go out, have a few drinks with your mates. I had the 10-year reunion from when Leinster won the Heineken Cup.
Is it 10 years?
Yeah, so we had that, which was brilliant to catch up with all the guys that I played with years ago. And second week, then you're encouraged to get doing a little bit of training and stop maybe having a few drinks. And then the last week is pretty much full on training, every day, a little bit every day. And with relaxing, it's when you got 3 kids by the pool, it's not as relaxing as it used to be, but it's different and it keeps you active. And I really enjoyed my holidays this year.
And do you find, I know it was your birthday earlier on this week, wasn't it? I'm not going to reveal 31. The age.
31.
31, okay. With the age, as you've gotten older, how has, I suppose, training changed and your approach to training changed? So Brian O'Driscoll was saying last week that for the latter end of his career, there was a bigger emphasis on recovery, a bigger emphasis on Pilates and kind of stretching-based workouts and stuff like that. Have you seen a change in your own training?
I think so. I think the older you get, the more you have to look after your body. But also, I think you get more professional, but that's only just because you get more educated. And sometimes I wish I knew when I was younger what I know now, and I feel like, but that's the path you have to take, and everyone's probably the same. But some of these young guys that are coming through into the academy straight away, they're just so professional, and like we wouldn't have been like that years ago. And you referred to Brian. I think Brian was his most professional probably when he was retiring, you know what I mean? And he's probably even more professional now when he is retired. But I think that just comes with experience and the need to having to look after yourself a bit better.
And what would you change then? So you say that, if you could go back, you would change certain things for your younger self. What would the changes be?
Well, obviously the experiences that you get from learning from different guys over the years, when you get probably the most professional guy I ever played with was Jamie Heaslip. Someone like Paul O'Connell, the high professional, Donnacha O'Callaghan, these great pros that you learn so much from. And then guys like even Brad Thorne coming into Leinster as a 37-year-old, and you learn what he's doing to keep going at that age, and you just pick up these things. So obviously you would love to have those experiences when you're 19, 20 and see, but you got to learn lessons, I suppose, the hard way in many ways. And I've had periods where I've struggled with injury. I've had periods where, I've had, seasons where I don't get injured, but, you learn stuff all along the way, yeah.
Is there an aspect of training that you love or that you hate, that you hate? Well, hate's probably a bit of a strong word, but that you don't like? Like what is it the strength and conditioning, or is it the cardiovascular, or is there just stuff that you just don't like to do?
I don't want to contradict myself. I hate the fitness, but I love it when you get it done.
Okay.
So before you do it, you hate it, you get nervous, you get butterflies, you think, why do I do this? But then you do it, it's hard, you get through it. You're there obviously with 40 other teammates, so it's a bit easier. But then after it, the feel-good factor of exercise, and then you want to go and do it again. But you still get that nervousness and horrible feeling before it. But so I hope that makes sense.
Were you always driven? That's a question I wanted to ask you. So when you were younger, when you were St. Mary's, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. So you always as driven to be the very best in your field or the very best in your position? when you were younger, coming up through maybe 13s and junior cups and senior cups, or was that something that came later on in your career?
Yeah, I think I was always very driven with whatever I did. Probably came from, parents or uncles and aunties being competitive individuals, and so I was always very competitive and driven. But I think I never knew sort of when I was 18, 19 and I wanted to be a professional rugby player. I had no idea how to do it, and I probably wasn't living up to what I should have been in terms of my lifestyle, habits, diet, all those things. But like I said, you do the hard work and you teach and you learn things as you go along, and I suppose I'm a much better pro now than I was back then.
Okay, well, one of the things I'm intrigued by, and I was really looking forward to chatting about, was match day pressure and how you handle it. Like, we're at home on the couch when we're watching the games. We're kind of half covering our eyes when you're going to do some, a really difficult kick or whatever. The last minute of towards the end of the match, it's really important. I'm fascinated how you handle that, and maybe chat us through the routine that you go through before you kick and that period of time. For example, like, do you hear the crowd, or are you zoned out from the crowd, or how does that? How do you handle it?
No, you can hear the crowd. You do zone. You hear people talking about going into the zone and all those things, and often some of the best moments I've had in my career, I actually can't really remember it through my own experience. You know what I mean? I go and watch it on TV and I see it. I go, wow, that looks a bit different to how I imagined it was. But I think your whole career, your whole week just becomes a routine. That's the one thing, and it's the times and the stages in your career where you come into a bit of trouble with form or injury. It's when your routine gets a bit knocked out of sync, where you pick up a groin strain or a quad strain and you can't practice, and then your whole routine is out of kilter, and then you pay the price for it on a Saturday often. So yeah, I suppose, like I said, like I have a very fixed routine: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday with my kicking, taper down a bit towards the game Thursday, Friday, and then I have a very specific routine the morning of a game, the warm up for a game, and you get confidence through that routine, and you've done your prep, and every time you do your prep well, you get good results. So it sounds boring, but that is really what being a kicker is all about: doing the right amount of practice, making sure you're mentally prepared. And for me, when I feel confident and mentally prepared, it's when I've done the hard work and my body's allowed me to do the hard work, and I get great confidence in that.
Okay, so it's through planning, prep, that relaxes you almost. It's a relaxant.
Exactly. It's a bit sort of, like you get sort of relaxed with the fact that you're doing the hard work. You know what I mean? I'm not actually going and lying down and relaxing. I do that at other times as well, but I get relaxed and I get confident in my preparation and doing hard work, and that allows me, when I am off in the evening time or with my kids, that I can really concentrate on them and park rugby to one side.
And what about the difficult days? Our listeners, the people in the crowd, in terms of health, will all have those, where you get a curveball and maybe your fitness plans go off kilter. For you, and for example, during a match, it may be missing a kick. How do you get back on track from that? Do you have method, or do you have a way of getting yourself back into the zone, or just move on and forget about it?
Yeah, it's probably the hardest thing, even at my stage of my career, and still the hardest thing is to move on from mistakes and bad games or bad moments, and that's the big challenge really with every sport. If you can move on from mistakes and sort of goes back into what you want, and as opposed to what you want to avoid, I think that's a good headspace. There's a kid trying to get up on stage with us here.
Hi.
So it's it's the hardest part about sport, and it's something that we're still working on. We work incredibly hard on with Ireland, is that sort of mindfulness. We do a lot of meditation and mindfulness in camp. We get encouraged to do it by ourselves, and I suppose kicking is in many ways mindfulness, breathing to try and block out some negative thoughts, try and get some positive thoughts and images in your head, and it's something that I've become a little bit better at over the years. Okay,
so with age comes experience and comes kind of confidence in some respects.
And learning new things. This probably got brought into us maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I used to lie there doing mindfulness, meditation. I used to plan my day. It was like the total opposite of what I was meant to be doing, and I just said I can't do it, I'm not very good at it. But it's just you one step at a time, and now I do it not every day, but I try and do it as often as I can.
Okay, well. Folks, you're listening to the Real Health Podcast in association with Leia Healthcare with me, Carl Henry. We're live from the Leia City Spectacular in Merrion Square. Delighted to be joined by Johnny Sexton. Is there, and this is a horrible question, but I have to ask you because I'm intrigued. When you look back over your career to date, is there a particular favourite high point? Or something that you reflect on, you think that was an amazing day or an amazing match or an amazing moment? Or is it, is there one that stands out?
It's very hard to pick one. I think
it's a horrible question.
And it's very hard to pick.
Few.
Yeah. Often the best memories you have as a rugby player, I find anyway, I'm not sure if everyone's the same, it's not the moment that you lift a trophy or you win a match or the big dramatic moment. It's the moments in the dressing room after the game and the week after where you're celebrating or you're enjoying your time with your teammates and your family and your friends, and you've done a year of hard work to get whether it's a European Cup win or a Grand Slam, anything like that. It's the moments after. So often when you talk about a Heineken Cup win or a Grand Slam, I think of the celebration or the dressing room after. I don't actually think about the game too much, which is, I don't know if it's right or wrong, or it's a good way to be, but they are the moments that you live for as a professional athlete, and I'm just really grateful that I've been in great teams over the years and had a chance to experience some good days.
Mm-hmm. How do you deal with the pressure of when you're on the pitch and you know that they're coming for you? And as such an important player, we watch the matches all the time, and you can almost sense the fact that they're going for you, that the flanker and the number 8 and whatever, they're going to be heading towards you at full tilt. How do you handle the nerves? Are probably the wrong word, but how do you handle that?
Pressure.
Pressure, yeah.
I don't know. I've dealt with it since I was, 16. I was a part of the senior cup squad in Mary's when I was 16.
16?
Yeah,
wow.
Which is an under 18. And so I had that where I was a small guy and I had the 6 years, even in training, running at me and the coach seeing if I could tackle and, live with the big boys. And then you go on to, you get targeted because you're the young guy in the team. And I've sort of dealt with it sort of through the years. And at different times it gets heightened or, at different times it goes away. It depends who you're playing, really. But no, it's something that's part of the game. I think most of it is fairly legal at times. At times it's borderline. But, it's nothing. You can't get away with anything malicious or dirty in the game anymore with the TMO and with the referees and all that. So, often it's all legal, and, it's about me just being, I suppose, strong enough and robust enough to deal with it and get up and get going again.
You talked there in terms of strength. Talk us through a normal training week. I know we were in with the Leinster with Daniel, the dietitian and the strength and conditioning coach, a couple of months ago. But how does a normal week for Johnny Sexton look in terms of training?
At the moment, it's way more geared up towards gym and strength, speed, all those things. So at the moment we're pretty much doing 2 sessions every day. Maybe on a Wednesday we only do 1, but it can be anything from, I know tomorrow now we'll go in and we've got a sort of speed and power session in the morning, and then in the afternoon we've got a gym session, and then at the back end of the gym we tag in some skills and out with the coaches on the pitch working on some things. Tuesday will be then probably another weight session in the morning and a rugby session in the afternoon, which will be sort of mixed in with we call it like Metcon, which is like get up down off the ground, hit the bags, sort of rugby specific stuff. Then Wednesday will be tapered off a little bit, probably priority stuff for guys, and then Thursday and Friday is pretty much repeat Monday, Tuesday, and then Saturday, Sunday is off. Like, I love this time of year because often in season you do your work during the week and then the real stuff starts the weekend and you got the pressure coming in as the week builds. But in pre-season, when Friday comes, lunchtime, you get released and you've nothing Saturday, Sunday. My biggest challenge is dealing with 3 young kids.
So it was my next question.
There's no pressure with matches. There's no expectation. There's nothing. So I love this time of year. It's probably a break for me in many ways. And
let's move it on a little bit. So let's talk about life outside rugby, and then life maybe after rugby. So I know you do a lot of work with Leia in terms of Super Troopers and programs like that. Do you enjoy the work that you do outside of the game?
I do, yeah. Like I got involved with Super Troopers and Leia because it's obviously promoting health, wellness with young people, and I see the importance of it. I see the great school my little fella and daughter are in, where they, every day they do mindfulness and stretch and grow and all these, things, and you see the change in mood the days they do those activities than the days they don't. So, something I was delighted to get behind, and it's something I, feel strongly about, and want my kids to be active and try and encourage it with other kids as well. So delighted to be involved with it, and I suppose it teaches me a lot with my own crew as well.
And in terms of life post-rugby, is that something that you've started to think about, or is that a post-World Cup where you begin to kind of maybe think about it?
No, I think about it a lot. It's our biggest, as a rugby player, it's your biggest worry. It's the thing you think about most, it's the thing you worry about most, is when you're going to have to finish. And it's like, that could be tomorrow. It could be, you don't have any certainty in the game that we're in, and your contract can be just finished like that. And so it's something that we worry about all the time. When you're at the age I'm at now, is how many more years can you get ahead of yourself at the top? You don't want to fall below the standards that you're at. So for me now, it's just about how much I can keep my body in good condition, and sort of I want to keep getting better, and but I know that there's not 10 years left, you know what I mean? You've got to start thinking about things, but I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do.
Really?
No. I sort of one day think I'm definitely going to do that, another day I think I'm going to do another thing. So it's, and when you're still playing, it's not exactly like you got offers or anything like that. So it's, we'll see what happens over the next few years.
Okay. And we're delighted to see so many kind of children and stuff in the audience, and lots of rugby players as well. Do you have any advice for any children and young rugby players and young sports players coming up who will emulate what they see with yourself in terms of television, but what can they do with their own sports in terms of not necessarily improving, but just about enjoyment? But what tips would you have for them?
Well, for me, my advice would be to work hard, because that's what I've always done. Like, I haven't been, I suppose, blessed with the best genetics and the best speed, all those things, but I've just worked hard for all my career really, and try to get better every year. And I think if you can do that, you'll eventually get to where you want to get to. And you see guys coming out of school at 18, 19, they just explode onto the scene, and there are some people like that. I had to sort of grind my way through it and get my, I suppose, first cap for Ireland when I was 22, and first Leinster cap, proper game when I was roughly the same age. So I really had to bide my time, but I suppose hard work got me to where practice, sacrifices and all those things, and I'm very proud of that as well.
So it's put the hard graft in. That's the key.
Unfortunately, that's there's no magic one thing to do. It's literally just try and get better at everything, and work hard.
And as a parent yourself, do you have any advice for parents out there? I'm fascinated when you watch your.
It's my wife there. She can answer. I'm a part-time dad, full-time rugby player.
When you watch your own children play sports, are you like one of those super competitive dads?
No, I'm the opposite. I don't think, I was out for dinner last night with friends, and we were talking about, they were saying, what would you push Luca and your Amy into? And I said, look, once they play something, I'd like them to play as much as they can, and then pick where they want to go. And once they try their best at whatever they do, then I some part of me doesn't really want Luca to play rugby. Really? Just with probably the expectations that could be on him, but I'd love him to play some type of sport and enjoy it, and try and make the most out of it.
Fantastic. Folks, you've been listening to the latest episode of the Real Health Podcast in association with Leia Healthcare. If you have any questions, you know where we are. It's realhealth@independent.ie or at Carl Henry PT on Twitter and on Instagram. Johnny Sexton, thank you so much for joining us at the City Spectacular as one of our live guests. A big round of applause for Johnny Sexton, everyone. And folks, if you're listening in on your phones or anywhere on any podcast platform, thank you so much for listening. We're just about to break the 1.5 million listen barrier, something I'm very, 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 very proud of. So thank you for listening, and as ever, we shall see you next week. Slán go fóill.
Leia Healthcare. It's good to live. Proud sponsor of the Real Health Podcast with Carl Henry.